Hello friends, welcome back to the second part in which we look at painting the Kamaz 5350 Mustang. Okay, if you haven't seen the first video, we covered the construction. After construction we had multiple components and we have got a slight issue, and that's why this second video is delayed. Basically, yeah, we've got these wheels and I'll show you how they assemble up really nicely. These are the resin aftermarket wheels from Mini Arm, and I've fully disassembled. These are super glued together with the tire inflator now in place. The problem I have is this: unfortunately I've got a pack that had 3 wheels that are Kamaz wheels for the Mustang, and then the other 3 are Belchinas, and I think these are for the Panacea. And if they were the same size, I could have probably got away with using them despite them having a different tread pattern, but they're actually of a larger diameter. So I contacted Igor from Mini Arm. He is sending me the correct wheels that will enable us to move on. Just a little bit of a delay, I think, in where we get up to, but let's talk about the painting process. And really, as you can see, we've got many sub-assemblies, and we need to think about how our painting plan is going to go. Now, what I have been doing is applying the masking from the Kaz models masking set. Now, these are internal and external mask sets, so I should be able to paint everything in one go. And also there's rubber as well. Now, there is a little bit of a one issue with the set was that the masks for the lights actually are too big. So I'll just show you quickly one quick solution is to make a small blue tack or Patafix and just press it on to the light itself. Try and get it into the rough shape of the light, and then you've got a very easy, ready to use mask there for the lights. And the other thing we'll talk about is the ways to hold all these different parts, and there's a couple of different ways of doing that. I typically use 2 or 3 different methods. The first one is to use these kebab type sticks and get some Patafix on the end, and then you've got an end that's tacky, of course, and well, the way to make it tacky is actually roll it between your fingers and get it warm, and then you can use that to hold some components. So maybe this seat, for instance, can be held on like so. So that's one method that you can use. The other way you can actually use is flat-sided sticks, like think of popsicle sticks or tongue depressors, and apply double-sided tape to it, and you've got something similar. I've got these small alligator clamps that have actually, even these have got a they've got a rubberized soft, and you can see how many times I've used these. This is another way to hold components. And then another way is with these forceps that are self-gripping, and because we've got quite a few very small components such as these photo etch windscreen wipers, we're gonna use these self-grip forceps for them. The other method as well is, of course, to keep some of your parts on the sprue, and that's the other way to do that. So we've got these mirrors on the sprue. Now, also, let's just talk about the painting. The paint plan is, I'm not going to use primer. I'm going to use rubber black. I'm going to use the to me acrylic minis rubber black. With the lacquer paints, you don't really need a primer, so I'm going to demonstrate that for you, that basically you can use this as a primer. There's not really much technical difference between primers and paints, especially the lacquer ones. The one that I would have used as well would be the Surface Evo. Basically, the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to use rubber black as the main color for my chassis or my engine, all these intricate details in here. The cab components also, I've got quite a few black parts, such as the seats are black, the steering wheel, Some components within the cab, like the dash as well, are black. So basically we're just going to hit this, and everything is going to get this rubber black, and also we'll be able to paint in the rubber for the windscreens and then reapply the mask, but I'll come on to that. What we'll do is, instead of me showing you, we're going to go 50% of the Tamiya rubber black and 50% leveling thinner. So let's get on with the painting. Okay, so basically all these bits have all been primed. We used an entire bottle nearly of this rubber black to get to this stage. Now obviously we need to paint the main body of the truck, and we're going to do it in the base green. We're going to follow the sort of standard camo colour, and then in the next video we're going to come on to something a little bit different, but also explain as well, in the Cav mask set we've got the external masks now to put on. So there's a couple of ways to do this, but in principle really it's best off to actually, instead of, this is the outside portion, so that depicts the rubber there, and then this mask would go on top. I think I can put it straight on top, or you can remove the one underneath. I don't know what's easier. I've usually always taken off a mask and then put on another one, but I don't know, maybe do that. Anyways, we'll put on those masks. So we've got the outside of the cab to do, and then also I'm just going to show you a very quick trick as well. Something that you may or may not know about Tamiya paints is that the flat ones can actually be polished, and this is the spare wheel. I'm just going to show you this now. You just take your finger and you just start rubbing around all over the surfaces. You actually get highlights just by polishing. You'll just be able to see it. It just tends to polish the colour. You might see it's very subtle, but it's nearly like not like dry brushing, but you can actually use this if you don't want to really weather anything. You can just simply do this. You can see actually all the details have actually popped. Actually got the ridge details, the writing, everything, just by using our fingers. I'll just show you again on one of the other types. So flat there, and then as you just polish it with your fingers, it just starts to highlight the tread. But that isn't the extent of it. It's just something that you may or may not know. Anyways, we're going to get on with painting. Now, I used Tamiya. Well, they call them acrylics. They're not really acrylics. They're like lacquers, really. Anything that's got flammable on it is not really an acrylic, believe me. So, what I'm going to use one of the MIG paints. Doesn't really matter if it's MIG or whatever. I'm only using an acrylic paint. I'm going to go for this protective green here. This one, 23. Why am I going to use acrylic paint? Well, what's interesting is that a model like this uses up lots of paint. It used a lot of this rubber black, even though it's not that big a model. You've got so many of these little nooks and crannies, and also with the Tamiyas, it uses up a lot of paint to get coverage because you've got a finer pigment. Now, acrylics, you've got a larger pigment, you've got a larger pigment base, and these ones are already mixed. All we need to do is shake them up and they can go straight in the airbrush. And with acrylics, we get a very good opaque coverage rather quickly. So I'm going to be mixing up everything. It's not a case of demonstrating that you can mix and match acrylics and Tamiyas and Mr. Colors. It's a case of I'm using this for a particular reason. I've got a lot of paint coverage to get down again, and I want to do it quite quickly and efficiently. So I'm going to use this color here. I will not be adding any thinner. That's just a massive mistake that keeps on. I see it time and time again on the forums. People get problems painting with acrylics. Add thinner. If you add thinner, you can probably get more problems than what you had previously. Remember, thinners actually dry the paint quicker, so you've got more of a chance of the paint drying, and then you get a dusty type coverage. If you spray, and you'll see it, I'm going to spray with this, no thinner, just make sure it's really mixed, and we're going to go for light. Okay, so we'll lay down the green. Worked out really well. Got lots of coverage. Look at how smooth everything's covered as well. All these rumours about acrylic paints being, you know, rubbish. Can't spray them. It's just not correct. You know that they're excellent paints. There was a change in plan. You always be ready to adjust things. I just pulled out that colour. Was it called protective green? Well, in the end, I've sprayed this dark green because, yeah, the painting philosophy here is we're not doing any modulation, we're not doing any highlighting. We're just using plain, basic, and dare I say, realistic colours. The way that we'll do the weathering will be the way that we achieve effects. We're not going to use any artificial highlighting methods or anything like that. We'll just keep it simple, and yeah, you'll see the effects. I mean, we'll probably cover that a bit later on. The other thing that I changed around as well was I was going to mask off areas. I didn't bother to do any masking whatsoever. The reason being, actually, I didn't have enough coverage on some parts of the black when I looked at them carefully. So instead, we're just going to hand paint on the black. And there's only a few areas. I mean, I've managed to, you know, mostly avoid areas just by being a little bit careful with the way that I've sprayed. And it's worked out okay. But we need to paint the floor mats inside here black, the gear shifter, that rear bench seat, etc. The seat belts, they need to be painted black, as does this area here of the fenders of the front of the cab. And the step areas where all that area was black as well. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to just use model air black. So this is for the airbrushing, but the advantage of this stuff is it is already thinned out, so it just needs a bit of a shake. And then I just use these leftover little cups, and then I'll use two brushes. I'll use one fine brush for getting close to detail, one larger brush just for coverage. I'll just show you quickly how this goes on. You need to build this up in coats, and we'll just do something simple like the mud flaps. There we go. So apply that. Never apply it too thickly, just apply thin layers, let it dry, come back. That's all you need to do. Need to paint this other area inside here as well. So we'll get this done now. And then I think that's the final bit of sort of base work painting. And just see in a second with the next part. Okay, the hand painting is basically finished. Didn't do the best job in the world, but it really doesn't matter. So the inside of the cab, these rubber portions of mud flap here, fenders rather, that step area, that was mispainted before. So what do we need to do now is apply a layer of gloss paint, and we're going to quickly spray that on from the spray can. Okay, just in order to quicken things up, we're going to use the Mr. Super Clear semi-gloss out of the can. It's just for speed and convenience, really. Also, as well, just to demonstrate, of course, we used acrylic paint. We used the Ammo MIG green. We've got the black from Tamiya. Yes, you can apply this lacquer type spray. So let's just quickly get some of these parts coated and then we can get on with the interior. The gloss coat's dried off, or the semi-gloss coat is dried out now. I've just been doing some dry fitting just to make sure that I haven't lost any of the sort of fitment of any of the cab components. Everything looks good. We're going to do some weathering. We're going to do the weathering with acrylic liquid pigment washes, just to make it really simple. I'm just going to demonstrate all that now. We'll take apart the cab yet again. Just take her off of there. And yeah, with acrylic washers you can either use acrylic thinners or plain water for your thinner medium, your solvent. So that's what we're going to do. So just take a bit of water, just use these cups here. Now I think I'll just use, there's quite a few in this selection. I think the road dust was one of my favourites. I think road dust is yeah, pretty good. Even actually dark dust might be okay, but we'll start off with the road dust. You may have seen these before. And these need a bit of agitation from Life Colour. These are pigments in an acrylic suspension, and application is extremely easy. There's also a remover, but I don't really tend to use the remover in anything like this. I'll be applying it like a wash. So the idea here is that we're just going to add a filter of dust within the cab, as if it's been sort of yeah, in a dusty environment, really. That's all we need to do. So to start that off, bearing in mind we've sort of got a gloss coat inside here, so there is what you'll get a surface tension forming. You can probably just see it there, but make the entire area wet, seat everything, because everything's going to get this very light wash. Then go straight into the pigments, get some on your brush and just wash it over. Now I'll concentrate on here where obviously your dust is going to accumulate where your boots are, so it's going to be the floor cab. Now it looks pretty harsh at the moment, but you'll be surprised the effect that you get when it dries. But we'll continue to just let this wash flow over everything. Just need a little bit more. This rear seat, even the cab walls as well. Just get everything. Just going to get this little dust layer. You can see what's happening. It beads because of the gloss coat, but that is not going to be a problem. As you see, the only sort of thing about this is that you can't per se blend at the moment. You need to let this layer dry, and then you can do some things with it. Try and break up the surface tension just by using the brush and just affecting some brush strokes to try and break it up a little bit. But yeah, we're keeping the weathering simple for the cab, because you know, it just really isn't seen that much. Yeah, but I want that effect, and it's going to come into play when you see what I've chosen to depict this vehicle as. So I'll go back again. This is obviously the console, very dilute on here. Let's just sort of get that worked in. And I need to detail this instrument cluster. I thought there was a decal included. There isn't. It needs to be painted or detailed in some other way. So that'll be the next thing that we do. There we are. Now we'll keep on monitoring this as it dries to see how it looks. But it should just be just a thin film of dust on these components. Do the cab roof as well. First of all, wet, and then some of the wash goes in like so. What I've got to do, just repeating this procedure on everything. You can see it's quite quick. I'm just going to do everything in front of you now, because why not? A thin film of dust on the doors, and no, we're only doing the internal components, and that's where we're, because we want to get the model assembled. There's so many parts still at the moment. Got light dusting there. On this one, I'll just show you this actually. On this seat, I didn't get much of the varnish on it, and you can see the difference. Sort of gets absorbed. It just into the pan of the seat. Of course, if there's too much wash at this stage, you can just come in with paper towel, rag, and just blot it away. But at the moment, things are okay for me. Just try and go a bit quicker now. And really what I need to show you is how it looks when it dries, because that's much more important. We've got the other door to do. I haven't worked out when we do the engine. I have to find out how much you can see or not see of it before we work out what we're going to do in terms of weathering. The instructions call out for a metal effect, metal coloured engine, like a steel or aluminium colour. I'm thinking of something to do there, but we'll probably do that in the next video. Okay, so let's just see how this dries, and I'll show you how we can get the cab assembled. Okay, next stage. So that solution is dried. I'm going to show you the parts, and you'll see actually when they were drying, I was sort of reapplying the brush with a little bit of water, but as you can see, a bit ugly. The wash is still basically in little pools, because it hasn't broke the surface tension on the gloss surface. Now, because of the pigments, because we've got a gloss surface, the solution is extremely easy. You can use a Q-tip or a bit of cloth or some tissue, and all you need to do is just start blending, just by rubbing. And that way you get all the that sort of dust effect just generally all over the surface, because it's a pigment. It doesn't really, it dries as a pigment. It never becomes a coating like paint. So you can even use your finger, you can use a stiff brush. See, I've already done this one. There's a few little areas, but basically just fade this out a little bit. That looks a bit better. It removes What do you call them? Watermarks. I think that's really the best description, isn't it? It's like watermarks because I don't say this is the best way to weather the interior, but it's pretty much one of the easiest ways. And I don't really spend too much time on the interior, as I sort of mentioned. Just want a general just sort of appearance of dust on there. And I don't think we'll bother with the matte coat either. That satin finish inside there looks pretty good to me. So there's only here to do now. Now, actually I'm thinking, do you see on the rubber mats there? I'm going to leave it like that. I quite like that effect. But the rest of it where it's would be metal, let's just fade it a little bit on the seats, just to remove those like ugly watermarks on there. But I'm going to leave that on the mats. I think it looks pretty good. Just fade this. Pretty easy to do, yeah. The other thing to do is you can use the remover. You can use remover if you've got too heavy a concentration of the pigments. Dip the Q-tip or your brush in the remover and it'll reactivate it. But as you can see, everything's dry. All I'm doing is just fading out, so those ugly marks have sort of basically gone. The other way to do it is get a cloth as well. Just get you know, the usual sort of thing. Get your fingertip like so and just sort of polish the surface a little bit. So like on that seat, because it looks like you can see all the brush marks and everything, let's just give that just a general sort of polish. There we go. Just need to do the seats now. Q-tips are easier, or cotton buds, because they get into these smaller little areas. Now I'm going to start gluing together the cab at last. And also I need to do some detail on here. I'm just going to check my references, but I think I've got a plan on what to do there. There's a couple of things I could do. I have got the dials still from the photo etch set, but I'm not going to use them. And you know, because of the way that the cab is, you'll barely be able to see them. But I've got an idea, so we'll do that next. Okay, the other thing we'll do at this stage is to remove the internal masks. They can start to come off. So just get a bit of purchase on that. These have worked really well, these masks, really well. Then I'll clean the surface of that. Take all the other ones out. The way to lift these masks, by the way, as well, just use your craft knife just to lift up an edge. And then using tweezers, get a bit of purchase, start bringing them back. There we go. So I'll just take all these off and we'll get the cab together. Okay, the only thing I've done really is just given the instrument cluster sort of light dry brushing. Yeah, not the best, but it'll do for my purposes. Okay, so we need to assemble the cab. The other thing, of course, is we put in all the seats. They're on side. The steering wheel's mounted inside, so now we can assemble the cab. And always check your dry fits, of course. Make sure you know where everything fits. The way that this is made is really nice. It really helps you because I'll just show you that the fit here is really great. This alignment here with the frame is excellent. So what we'll do, let's push that in there. There we go. That's how everything fits together. So we're going to run some glue down there. This point here, this gets covered by another component. So we don't really worry too much about that. Also, I think we're going to have to tidy up a little bit of this seam here in terms of paint, just to make it a little bit more, it just doesn't seem as opaque here. So I'll probably just hand brush that on there. Now I'm thinking about using super glue or just extra thin cement. I think I'll try with the extra thin cement. I think I'm going to get away with it, to be honest. The thing is, I just don't want to damage any of the paint. Yeah, so the way we're going to do this, we're going to just hold it in the dry fit. I'm going to run extra thin cement as carefully as we can. Down that seam. And then we're going to use positive pressure to hold it in place until it goes off. And we'll just do one side at a time. I think this is probably going to work out the best. And any sort of touch up I need to do, I think I'll just use a brush and I'll show you how that works out. But that seems to be holding. I'll check the other side. Make sure everything lines up properly. This is the most important bit. You see it actually sort of clicks in place, and the windscreen does sort of run proud there as it's meant to on the real deal. So we'll run some cement down there. Yeah, I might damage the paintwork, but I'm not overly concerned. Get some pressure on there. And most of this structure, actually the cab, is actually held in place by the roof. And I think we will use super glue in that area. Yeah, I've actually got a bit of touch up there to do as well. Sand that off. But that seems to be gripping, which is good. Remember, check your dry fits. Again, continually, just check the roof. Make sure it fits, which it does. And I have to say, the fit of the roof is so good. You could actually just leave it, just dry fitted, but it's not my preference. I like my models pretty solidly constructed. I'm just thinking how to do this. Using the extra thin will be a little bit difficult because it's that lip there. So I want some either traditional cement or super glue, really. And my preference, I think in this case, would be to use some ordinary cement. So I'm going to get some Revell or some thicker, slower setting cement and run it down that gap. Let's see if I've got any first of all. I can probably just do that straight away. Yeah, let's use some Revell. We'll run it down here. See, all glues have their purposes. If you get into the trap of thinking that you use the extra thin for everything, you might run into some issues. Why are we using this glue? Because it's actually slower setting and it remains in a liquid state. So I can leave that if I applied extra thin there, it'd just evaporate. And I need this on this lip here as well. Yeah, all glues have got their purpose. I think some people are forgetting that they're using the same solution for every problem. It doesn't work out every time. So there we go, that goes on like so. Use a bit of pressure, not too much, because I haven't applied too much glue. It's not oozing out all over the place. Now we need to do these covers. Go over there. Let's use the Revell glue again, just because I want a bit of purchase on there. I have to just be careful. Just need a little bit. This goes on like so. Oh. Just need a little bit of pressure to hold it on. Okay, so there we are, there's the cab, basically fully assembled. Just check the, I'll just show you the dry fit with the doors as well. Both one of them. Can't see much inside, always the case. Door dry fit's pretty nice actually. I might glue one on and then leave the other one like posed open. Got still quite a bit more to do. I'll just show you the dry fit as well onto here. So you can get an idea of the size of this vehicle. Pretty big vehicle actually. Looks really good, really impressive. Okay, I'm going to sort of conclude this here on this sort of base painting stage. Yes, I do need to do a little bit of tidy up work, and then the next part, the next final part of the video will be quite interesting. Bearing in mind, of course, we are waiting upon Igor. He said that he's sending me in the post the remaining resin wheels. I just want to show you how they look on there. I love these wheels. They are pretty amazing. But once we receive them, I'll do the final video on this. Sorry, got a little bit delayed as well, but we'll do something a little bit different as well to make this a bit interesting. Okay, so see you in the next one, and thanks.